Hey, continuing on a two-part series on how to wire the lights on these mini gauges. We've got two to go here, the high beam and the blinker indicator. So we're going to do that here in this episode. Welcome to Urban Monk TV. So I said two lights, but actually it's three. There's the high beam, the blinker, and then there's the backlights on both mini gauges. Speedometer and tach both have a backlight for nighttime riding. I think we'll tackle all of that here. We'll see how much we have time for. The first one I'm going to start with will be the high beam, then we'll do the backlight, and I'll finish with the blinker, as that is going to be the most complex. You're going to want to stay tuned for the blinker section because it's tricky, trust me. Regarding the high beam, one of the things you will notice is I have replaced the headlight on the GS550 with a smaller aftermarket. This is from Dime City Cycles. I bought it like a year and a half ago. It's been sitting in a box. I'm not gonna go through how to wire this light because the chances of some of you guys using this exact same light are slim to none. But I am gonna go through where the wiring is stock on the bike for the headlight and thus the indicator light on the gauge for high beam. So one of the first things we notice when we look at the wiring diagram in regards to the headlight is, it shows the black and white common ground, which is pretty much a common through the entire wiring harness. And then we've got a white wire and a yellow wire, and they don't indicate which one is for high beam and which one is for low beam. So let me answer that for you. So the first thing we do is set our switch to lights on and low beam. This was made in 1978, where in the US you still had the option of having the headlights off. Crazy. And with a test lead, I've got negative tying into the black and white commons on the ground of the wiring harness. And I've also put the one end of a test light to this ground. So my test light is now grounded. Turn your ignition on, and this is my headlight plug. Black and white is common ground, so that was the other end I just showed you of this test light. That's already hooked up to that. Alternatively, I could have plugged that into here, but that's a very big clamp to work in a small area, so that isn't working. And low beam is going to be the white. I get nothing on high beam because my switch is not selected, but if I switch on the left-hand handlebar to high beam, then I do get power. So white is low beam, yellow is high beam. And so as we look at the wiring diagram for the original instrument cluster, B is the bright bulb, or high beam. And you'll see that one line ties into the common, where are you, black and white. The other end, you can just about guess it, it's yellow, because yellow is our high beam, right? We figured that out just moments ago. So we need to tie into black and white and yellow for the light on our mini gauge. So this plug here contains all of those wires that went up to the old instrument cluster for those lights. And here is my black and white ground. And then the yellow wire is right here. And so on the high beam indicator light on the mini gauge, the blue wire is going to be what I'll call our hot lead,
and blue and black is going to go to ground. Ground in our case is the black and white wire, and blue is going to go to yellow, which is our hot lead, I'll call it. And we can test that theory by just sticking the blue, kind of ran that backward. Put the blue into the yellow. This is just loose for now, but hopefully I'm making a connection there. And then the blue and black, I will connect to the black and white. It's just temporary. And let's go look at the light on the gauge. Turn our switch on. Go to high beam. And there you go. We got a blue light. Low beam, high beam. So we're on to the right wiring. Now it's just time for me to solder it. Since my yellow wire has this bullet connector on it, that's a female, I'm just going to put a male onto here. I don't tend to like using crimp style connectors where I have a significant amount of electrical flow, but in the case of an LED this small, it's so infinitesimal that it really doesn't matter. As long as that's snug on there, that'll be a good connection. These bullet connectors I bought don't really fit into this sheathing very well, but that works, and it's clean. And then I'll solder this one. A little heat shrink. Slid up and out of the way. Yeah. Switch hands here. Woo! Getting some hot insulation there. Hold up. There we go. And just confirm we're still lit. We are.
So that was high beam. This headlight also has a high beam indicator up in the headlight. Again, I'm not going to get into any of the wiring on this because you guys don't have this light. But you can figure out whatever light you do have from this information I just gave. Let's get on to the backlight.
So on our wiring diagram, the backlights for the gauges are this one and this one. The ones up top here are turn indicators, right and left. So it's these ones inside the gauges that we are concerning ourselves with. You can just about guess that this comes over to the black and white, and this one comes over to the black and white. So you have that black and white common ground again. So we'll be tying into that connection I just soldered. And then also we have green, is that right? GR, I'm sorry, stands for gray. Here's where you find the wire color code GR gray. And backlight on our mini gauge is orange and black. Here is our gray wire. I'm going to get that stripped. Okay, I stripped it. And then again, that black and white there. So black. Here's black. Tie that in here. We're going to have to heat that solder joint up again. Okay, it's a very loose connection, but black wire going to our black and white on the bike. Orange wire going to the gray. I'm probably going to hold this while we turn on the ignition and see if the backlight on the gauges is working. One mistake I already said, I said gauges. We're only working with this speedometer right now, so I also have to get the backlight off of here, which is another 2 wires that will have to be wired the same. But with the headlight switch on, and it is, there, we are backlit. That connection is pretty loose, but when we solder that up, it should be good. Let's get this one connected in there too. So the tach just comes with 2 wires coming out of it because the only lights in the tach are the backlight. They're black and red and they come with bullet connectors on them. I'm going to have to get rid of the bullets and just solder in like I am on the speedometer. And then I'll also have to extend the wires because I don't think that's going to reach. Okay, so what I did here was extend the wires from the tachometer down to where they'd reach this same area. And I took the black wire from the speedometer and the black wire from the tachometer, joined them all together with the black and white on the wiring harness. So that's simple enough. And then what I'll call the hot leads, which are 2 different colors. They're red coming off the tachometer and they're orange coming off of the speedometer. But just whatever the color, they're hot leads. They went to gray on the bike wiring harness. And before we solder all that up permanently, let's make sure that we have our lights. And there we go. Nice blue. That's pretty cool. So on to the blinker, or winker. Okay, so I'm sorry I got this zoomed out so far to where you can't read these, but left turn signal and right turn signal are tied into the common black and white ground, and then left turn signal comes and ties into black, and right turn signal ties into light green. And that jives with left turn signal black, white, black, right turn signal black, white, light green. And lo and behold, here's our old plug that went to the instrument cluster, the original, and what's left? Light green and black. I've got so many black wires coming into the single black and white on that plug that I just decided to tie in a different spot here. So I stripped away some of the insulation, and I will get my black ground connected. And on my mini gauge, they call it a winker, the ground is yellow black. So here is yellow black. Get that on there. And I have one single yellow wire going up to a single blinker on the gauge, a single LED indicating whether you have right or left turn signal on, it doesn't matter. And so what I need to do is send signal from both the black and the white, the black and the green, to that. Now, that's going to create a problem. When I turn the ignition on, and I turn on one of the turn signals, let's just say the right, I now get my winker blinker light to blink, and I can go left, and I also get it to blink. This is fantastic, but here's the problem. Let me watch my step. Because I tied both the light green and the, what color was it? Black, together, now I'm sending signal to both left and right turn signals. And that's the tricky thing you got to work through when you're going from the stock setup where there are 2 individual lights to a single light on these mini gauges. Here's how we do that. This is where it's all going to go down. We need the flow of electricity if we're on the, let's say, right turn signal to go to the blinker but not feed back into the black. And conversely, if we have the black hot for left turn signal, we need that to flow into the same place but not feed back into the green. And so we need to have some sort of a gate here, and here's how we can do that. We do it with resistors. These happen to be 470 ohm, about 100 of them. I only need 2. Okay, so here are my 2 resistors. I bought a 100 pack because they're just so cheap. Okay, so what I want to do is orient the bands on these resistors the same, and they have a one direction of flow to them. Use your test light or something to play around with that, but essentially once you figure out which way electricity will flow and which way it won't, I have figured out that it will go, this way. With on these particular resistors, it has this little gold band to the right. So your resistors may be different, but they're going to function the same way. And so I'm going to twist this pair together, and what I'm going to have is, right and left signals from those hot wires, which were the black and the light green. I think I reversed that, but it doesn't matter. And electricity will flow to the blinker in the mini gauge from either one of those, but it won't flow backward to the other, if that makes sense. So it can flow this way, it can flow this way, but it can't flow back from that light to the other side and jump across. And so I'll twist this together. That'll be the side toward the indicator light on the mini gauge, and each one of these will go to the hot leads for the light green and the black, for the right and the left. So I've just got these in here temporarily. Again, you see I have the bands oriented in the same direction. Here is the light green and here is the black, so I forget now which is which. Black is left. Alright, so here's left and right, and both heading to the hot lead on the light on the gauge. And then of course over here is my, oops, that's off screen, is the other ground lead. So let's see if this works before I start soldering things. Okay, so we turn this on. Let's do right blinker. Now, we already had that working before. That's not the big deal. What matters is, do we have right blinker without the left? And we do. And we can check the front. Same thing. We have the right blinker, but not the left. And if I reverse that, still have my indicator up on the gauge. I now have the left blinker, but not the right. And check the back. Left, not right. Soldered one to the light green and then heat shrinked it, and just want to point out that once I'm past the resistor itself, I don't care if I shrink all the way up, because anything beyond the resistor, I'm connected. I don't mind if they touch there. So just a note when you're heat shrinking these, how far up to go. Get past the resistor is the important part. I soldered the last one before putting the heat shrink on, and I didn't want to undo it, so I just put some electrical tape on there. So don't judge me, it's insulated. This time I remembered. Okay, and now that we have everything soldered up, just one final check before I button it up. Right turn, blinker, blinker, no left. Right, no left. Let's go to left. We have left, no right. We have that. And we have left, no right. All right.
So as my Swedish friend Anders would say, brilliant. Blink, blink. Hey guys, if you like what I'm doing, please give me a thumbs up. And if you want to become an urban monk, subscribe. I'll see you in the next episode where we'll continue wiring. Thanks for watching.